Today, we're talking about a huge shift happening in the tech world. It's a movement where the tools we use every day are finally being built to serve us, the user, not to mine us for data. So let's get right into it.
I mean, really think about it. It's probably the most important question of our digital lives, right? Every single time you click, you scroll, you type something, you're feeding into a system. But who is that system really built for? This one question is at the center of the battle for what the internet's gonna be. And at the heart of it all are two totally different ways of thinking. On one side, you've got the user as product model. This is the world of data harvesting and surveillance capitalism, where your personal information is the actual product being sold. But on the other side, you've got this emerging user-first model. This is all about things like privacy by design and complete transparency. Today, we're going to look at the companies and the products that are actually making this second philosophy a reality.
Okay, so let's start with the first and maybe the most critical battleground in this whole fight, protecting our personal data. A perfect example of this just blew up recently with Microsoft's recall feature. When this was announced, the privacy and security communities, well, they went into a frenzy. The whole idea was to constantly take screenshots of your screen every few seconds and save them all in a local database. Now, Microsoft did walk it back a bit after the huge outcry, but those core privacy issues, they didn't just disappear.
What's so interesting is seeing how different user-first apps tackled this problem. So you have the messaging app Signal, for instance. They used what's called a DRM flag, which is usually for stopping movie piracy, to just block all screenshots, period. It worked, sure, but it also broke legitimate screenshot tools that you might actually want to use. But then you have the Brave browser. They took a much more surgical approach. They found a way to block recall specifically, while still letting you take normal screenshots whenever you want. It's just a much smarter, more user-focused fix.
And this quote from their privacy team really gets to the heart of it. They said the stakes are just too high to let your browsing history accidentally get dumped into some permanent log. This is a perfect example of a team thinking about user safety from the very beginning.
Now, this fight for our privacy is expanding. It's moving into the next great frontier, artificial intelligence. AI assistants are incredibly powerful, but you have to wonder, what's happening to all the personal stuff we tell them?
This is where a service like Proton's Lumo comes into the picture. If you look at most AI assistants, they're keeping your chat logs. They're using your data to train their models, and they're sharing that data with who knows who. Lumo is just built differently. No logs, never uses your data for training, no sharing. And this isn't some happy accident. They designed it this way from the ground up.
So how do they actually pull this off? Well, it comes down to a few really smart decisions. They use something called zero-access encryption, which basically means your saved chats are scrambled so that not even Proton can read them. They build on open-source models so any expert in the world can check their work. And they have features like a ghost mode that makes your conversations just disappear. You see, it's privacy that's built in, not bolted on as an afterthought.
And this whole user-first idea can also make simple, everyday things much safer. Let's take file sharing. A tool called Wormhole uses these exact same principles. It's super simple. You just drag your files, it gives you a secure link, and you share it. But here's the kicker. That link automatically dies after a set time.
And we're not just talking about little documents here. You can send files up to 10 gigabytes, all with end-to-end encryption. But honestly, the most important feature is that your files don't just sit on some server forever, where they can be forgotten about or, worse, compromised. It's file sharing designed from the start to be private and temporary.
Now, this user-first mindset isn't only about data privacy, it's also about being transparent, especially when your money's involved. The next front in this movement is all about making sure you know exactly what you're paying, with no hidden surprises. This chart just says it all, doesn't it? If you want to send $1,000 to the Philippines, look at the difference. A lot of traditional services bake their profit into a really bad exchange rate, and then they tack on other fees. But Wise, on the other hand, gives you the real exchange rate, the one you actually see on Google, and then they just add one clear upfront fee. The difference in what you end up paying is, well, it's huge.
And it's pretty clear this transparent model is catching on. 14 million customers around the world are now using Wise for their international finances. That is a massive number of people voting with their wallets for fairness and clarity.
And it's not just for you and me. Over 600,000 businesses now use the Wise platform to handle their global payments. This just goes to show that being user-first and transparent isn't just some nice idea. It can be the foundation for a really powerful and reliable financial system.
All right, the final piece of this user-first revolution is all about empowerment. It's about giving us, the users, direct access to powerful, open, and usually free tools that put the control right back where it belongs, in our hands.
A fantastic example of this is a website called IT Tools. Honestly, you should think of it like a digital Swiss Army knife. It's just packed with a huge range of utilities for everything from crypto and security to web development to data conversion and a whole lot more.
It's got over 60 different open source tools. And the best part? They're all completely free and they run right in your browser. No installation needed. And because most of them do all the work right there on your machine, what's called client-side, your data never even has to leave your computer.
And these are some seriously handy tools, even if you're just kind of tech curious. Like there's a JWT decoder that lets you peek inside the digital tokens websites use to keep you logged in. You can generate your own high-security keys, convert data formats. It's all about taking the mystery out of technology and giving everyone access to pro-level tools.
So, when you put all these different pieces together, what does it all mean? Well, a really clear picture starts to emerge about the choice we all have and about who our technology really ought to serve.
So when you look at all these different companies, Brave, Lumo, Wise, Wormhole, IT Tools, you start to see they all have the same DNA. They're not just tacking on features, they're building on a foundation of principles. Things like end-to-end encryption by default, honest pricing, and open source code that anybody can go and check. At the very core of it all is one simple idea, putting the user back in charge.
The big thing to take away from this is that these aren't just a few isolated products. They're real, tangible proof of a bigger shift in tech, a growing movement that's steering away from that old model of exploitation and towards a new one built on respect for the user.
And this is why all matters. Every single time you choose a browser or a file-sharing app or an AI assistant, you're casting a vote. Your choices, our choices, are what will decide which of these models wins out and what kind of internet we're going to have in the future.
Which really just leaves us with this final thought. Technology is only going to get more powerful, more woven into the fabric of our lives. So we have to keep asking ourselves this one fundamental question. Who should all of this power truly serve? Thanks for watching.